Welcome to the Regional Council. The meeting is now called to order. For those around the table, please turn on your microphone when speaking. For those participating via Zoom, please state your name when making a comment or asking a question. The MAG public comment process allows members of the public to comment on items that fall under MAG's jurisdiction. If you would like to comment at today's meeting, please complete the request to speak form. MAG staff can assist you with any questions you may have. If you parked in the garage, parking validators are available on the information table in the hallway. If you purchased a transit ticket to come to the meeting, please see staff for a ticket. Hearing assisted devices are available from MAG staff. We will now begin the meeting with a roll call of members.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Members of the Regional Council, I will go down the list of members alphabetically. Please unmute and indicate if you are present. Mayor Beck. Mayor Bien Wilner.
Here.
Thank you. Mayor Crane.
Here.
Thank you. Ms. Daniels. Mayor Dickey.
Here.
Thank you. Chair Gallego.
Here.
Thank you. Supervisor Galvin. Mayor Giles. Thank you. Supervisor Goodman. Mayor Hall.
Present.
Thank you. Mayor Hartke.
Present.
Thank you. President Javier.
Here.
Thank you. Mayor Emercio.
Here.
Thank you. Mayor LaVault.
Yes, I'm here.
Thank you. Governor Roe Lewis. Mr. Meck.
Present.
Thank you. Mayor Molina.
Present.
Thank you. Mayor Morris.
Present.
Thank you. Mayor Osborne.
Present.
Thank you. Mayor Ortega.
Present.
Thank you. President Patia.
Here.
Thank you. Mayor Pereira. Mayor Peterson.
Here.
Thank you. Mayor Pizzillo.
Here.
Thank you. Mayor Rodriguez. Mayor Schultz. Mayor Sykes.
Here.
Thank you. Mayor Smith.
Here.
Thank you. Mayor Walter. Mayor Wires.
I'm here.
Thank you. Mayor Wise.
Here.
Thank you. Mayor Wheatley.
Here.
Thank you. Mayor Wilson.
Here.
Thank you. Mayor Woods. Is there anyone that I missed? Madam Chair, we have quorum.
Wonderful. Thank you and welcome to everyone. Please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Our next item is call to the audience. This is the opportunity for the public to comment on items that fall under MAG's jurisdiction that are not on the agenda, informational items, or items on the agenda for discussion and not for action. 15 minutes will be provided for the call to the audience. We have a comment from Diane Barker. Come on down.
Thank you, Mayor Gallegos and Meg Mayers. I had a chance to talk with Kelly a little bit about public input. I support this. And I asked her a couple of reasons. So why am I now going on that little cube and filling out separate times? And now I have not only call to the audience, but I have consent and action. And I always thought consent, when you make consent, that is the action. So anyway, Kelly said, well, we're Diane, we're doing it. You've been here, for a while. And I says, don't remind me. So anyway, those are some of the things, but what I'm suggesting to you, I really think that most people, if they're prepared to come in front of you, probably only need, and I used to be in favor of the 3 minutes, but probably only need the 2. I had that over at Board of Supervisors. I think the city of Phoenix has done that too. What I would say on the consent, if I need extra information, I actually talk to your staffer, and I have found that they do return my calls. And so I'm just at this point, I'll be called up for the consent, but I just want to say I'm in favor of what Patrick Stone has been doing. I've talked to Dean Giles for years, and when there's a problem, he'll explain certain things. And if I disagreed, I'd come and, let Meg know. So I really think that there is a way. You think about it, all the time the people have to come up here, some bring laptops, papers, this and that. They get off their seat, they come and they walk over here, and then we wait for them to walk back, and then maybe they drop something. I'm just saying there should be a more simple way. In all respect to you, Kelly, I have good communication with you, dear, and I hope that we get it together so that keep it simple, sweetheart. Okay. So anyway, I listened to Mayor, and she's in Mayor Kay Gallegos, and it was a really good speech yesterday. There's a lot on the plate for City of Phoenix. We used to be called Greater Phoenix, and then we've gotten some cities that are edging up to the size of Phoenix. I understand Buckeye is supposed to be bigger than Phoenix. Does that mean Buckeye, Arizona is going to be bigger than LA? I hope they have the water to support it. At one time, that's one reason why they got real big. They came to MAG, and I saw them back studying a lot of the land and everything years ago. So that was long play. But what I want to say, multimodal, it feels good, and we need to give good directions. Downtown, we have 3 light rail platforms within Central, First Avenue, and Washington. I was asked a couple times in 5 minutes, how do you get on the west? Go west. How do you go east? We need signage, but I let the city know. Thank you.
Thank you, Diane. MAG also provides opportunity for members of the public to submit written comments via the MAG website. Any comments received 2 hours prior to the meeting have been shared with the committee members in advance of the meeting for consideration. Staff, do you want to provide an update on the written comments?
Thank you, Madam Chair. We have received 5 written comments for the call to the audience, which have been provided to the members in advance of today's meeting.
Thank you so much. Item 4 would be informational items, but we do not have any today, so we will go to the consent agenda. Items 5A through 5C are part of that agenda. Does any member of the committee have questions or request a presentation on any of these items? All right, we have 1 public comment. Diane, welcome back.
Okay, so on 5B, yeah, that's air quality. And Dean, from what I could see, it looks like it's kind of we're doing the same thing. I don't see anything different, but we do need to do things so that we cut down on emissions. We're blaming wildfires or pollution from other places. We've got ozone problem, and we've got particulates. And we need to look at the fact you've got stats that we've increased, 10%? Surprised it's not more since COVID. Apparently, we had more trucks really running during COVID. But we need to look to see, these bottlenecks that we have out at Agua Fria, South Mountain, off of the I-10, and then it goes on over to the Red Mountain. And around in the 80s, I attended, I guess, a MAG sort of a get together, an outreach. And they talked about the fast bus. And at that time, they said someday Maricopa County will have Hall Freeway all around it. And they presented a bus. And I even think they had some advertising on it. People were going, oh, no. They said, well, this is the way we're going to bring in some money. And they had these fast buses that go faster than our light rail at grade today going around. I think that you need to look at that for these. You've got to study out on the access there on the I-10 where you have bottlenecks to see if we can get a fast bus, see if some of these people don't need to bring their cars, and they will move across the valley more rapid, not during just peak period, but throughout the day. because we've got more people driving at noon around the city of Phoenix on Fridays and Saturdays. That's changed from 10 years ago.
Thank you, Diane. Are there any comments from those in the room on the consent agenda? Do we have a motion?
So move. Second.
Excuse me,
Motion
Madam
from-
Chair,
Yes.
regarding the public written comments online, 4 such comments were submitted for the consent agenda.
Thank you. We have a motion from Mayor Hartke and a second from Mayor Weiss. Will those participating in the meeting online take part in the voice vote by turning on their cameras and unmuting their audio? We need to see everyone's faces. Right. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? Please leave your cameras on. Staff, can you take a roll call of anyone who did not turn on their camera?
Thank you, Madam Chair. If I call your name, please indicate how you vote. Jen Daniels.
Aye.
Thank you. Mayor Hall.
Aye.
Thank you. Everyone has voted. Madam Chair, the motion passes.
Wonderful, thank you. Item 6, the fiscal year 2024 Arterial Life Cycle Program Federal Fund Advancement. This item is on the agenda for approval and will be presented by Carrie Kassler, Transportation Planner. Welcome.
Thank you, Madam Chair and members of Regional Council. Today I'll be presenting on year 2024 Arterial Life Cycle Program Federal Fund Advancement. So this process was approved by this body in October of 2023. As you may know, federal funds are on a use or lose basis. Therefore, this process provides an opportunity for agencies to bring federal funds back into the ALCP from the unfunded portion, also known as Phase 5. All projects in federal fund advancement must be federally eligible and able to obligate within the. Now I will provide some background on milestones in the Phase 5 funding. First, in 2003, the Regional Transportation Plan was approved by voters, which set up the passage of Prop 400 in 2004. Phase 5 did not yet exist, so the balance was 0. Next, in 2005, the first ALCP was approved. Again, Phase 5 did not yet exist, so the balance was 0. Then, due to the Great Recession, a rebalance was needed in the ALCP, and it moved $22.4 million out of the program, and a Phase 5 was created for the unfunded portion of the ALCP. Due to ongoing revenue concerns and stagnation, an additional rebalance was needed in changing the total amount of the unfunded to just under $200 million. Fast forward 9 years, with improved financial circumstances, we were able to bring $100 million back into the ALCP in 2021. And we are currently in the position again to bring more money back into the program with this effort. Oops. There we go. Requests for applications were sent out to member agencies in the ALCP on February 1st, and we received 3 requests by the March deadline. I want to take a quick moment to thank our member agencies and our staff specifically, or your staff rather, for their responsiveness in this effort. Their engagement is what made it possible for this item to cross the finish line, and we're really grateful for their help. The 3 requests came from City of Chandler, City of Phoenix, and City of Scottsdale, and I'll give a brief overview of each project. Chandler's project is Chandler Heights Road, Gilbert to Val Vista. This is anticipated to be obligated in May 2024 for road widening from 1 lane to 2 lanes in each direction, among other improvements, with a request for $1.2 million. Next City of Phoenix project is Happy Valley Road, 35th Ave to 67th Ave, with an anticipated obligation date of May or June of 2024. Several improvements will be made to this roadway, and the request was for $6.5 million. Finally, Scottsdale's project is Scottsdale Road, Jomax to Dixoletta. This is anticipated obligation date of May 2024 with several improvements, including construction of 4-lane street, raised medians, and bike lanes. This also includes a new roundabout at Dynamite funded by ADOT as part of the HSIP program. This request was for $13 million. More robust information on each project is provided in the agenda packet. Madam Chair and members of Regional Council, the action requested is up on the screen. Thank you for your attention, and I'm happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Carrie. Do any members have questions or comments? We have no comment cards on this item. Do we have online written cards for this item?
Thank you, Madam Chair. We did not receive any online written comments for this item.
Is there a motion to approve item number 6?
Motion to approve.
We have a motion from Mayor Orsborn and a second from Mayor Ortega. Same deal with the cameras on.
Where's the camera?
All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Those opposed say nay. Members, please leave your cameras on. Staff, can you, where do we get everyone?
Thank you, Madam Chair. When I call your name, please indicate how you vote. Ms. Daniels?
Aye.
Thank you. Madam Chair, everyone has voted and the motion passes.
Wonderful. Thank you. Freeway Life Cycle Program Minor Improvement Funding Request, State Routes 51 and Loop 101 Pima Freeway System Interchange Ramps. This item is on the agenda for approval and will be presented by Quinn Castro, Transportation Engineer.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of Regional Council. Quickly overview, we have the Freeway Life Cycle Program, which is the management tool for the funded through Prop 400. Its funding includes additional funding for minor improvements on our regional freeway system. On May 24th, 2023, MAG Regional Council approved fiscal year 2024 Freeway Life Cycle Program, which included $5 million for minor improvements in this fiscal year. This agenda item represents a request to allocate $4.392 million of fiscal year 24 funding for improvements to the State Route 51 and Loop 101 Pima Freeway System Interchange ramps. So ADOT initiated a study in 2023 of the Loop 101 Pima Freeway and State Route 51 interchange, specifically around the eastbound Loop 101 and southbound 51 ramp and the northbound 51 to westbound Loop 101 ramps. These ramps experience severe congestion, which is expected to increase as the surrounding areas continue to develop and grow. The ADOT study helped identify and evaluate feasible alternatives for both operational and capacity improvements. The study team began work with an existing conditions analysis, which looked at the current crash data, a traffic analysis, and a recent restripe of that north to west ramp. So the image in front of you here is the study area relative to the rest of our regional freeway system, and the inset is highlighting the ramps and those movements themselves. So ADOT did a crash analysis, which looked at a 5-year period from July 2018 to June 2023 for approximately 2 miles on the Loop 101 and 51 from Union Hills Drive north to State Route 101. That crash data is represented here visually in a heat map. And so the brighter the color, the greater the number of crashes. So in particular, we're looking at that yellow, which is a really high crash density. The data showed that these crashes along 101 are primarily side swipes and rear ends. And as noted in the study, these types indicate high congestion near both merge and diverge movement locations. So here again is that existing lane configuration. Each black line here is a lane and the arrow shows the direction of travel on that system interchange. And the highlighted orange here, these are the areas of interest for us today. The north to west ramp and again, that east to south. For anyone that drives the corridor, that image on the left is probably very familiar. This is somebody during their commute home in the evening. State Route 51 backs up onto 101 and that ramp becomes severely congested. The images on the right are from the ADOT cameras and they show the traffic queues on 101 and 51 respectively. The bottom right in particular, if you look in the very corner, is stop traffic on the ramp itself. So earlier I mentioned that there was a 2021 restripe of that north to west ramp that ADOT looked at, and they went from a single lane to a dual lane. That restripe created an additional lane that provides an optional exit lane at the Cave Creek Road traffic interchange. So this has largely addressed the congestion on that ramp. And so the focus of the study moved to the east to south ramp. But starting on the right-hand side of your screen here, this is a 2-week period of traffic congestion on the north to west ramp in February of 2019. Following the restripe that they did, this is the same 2-week period in February of 2024, much less congested. Moving to the left-hand side of your screen, here is the east to south ramp. You can see a little bit of congestion building there. And here it is in 2024. So again, additional congestion that has added to this interchange. So the study looking at that north to west ramp recommended there just some improvements to signage to align with that restripe that happened in 2021. And then it also identified the need to convert the east to south ramp from 1 lane to 2 lanes to accommodate 2050 travel. So again, there's the northwest. Here's that east to south movement. And based on a future conditions analysis and alternative screening process, they recommend a restripe to 2 lanes, so minimal construction. Approximately $4.392 million represents the cost of both construction and design. And if approved, construction will be able to begin in fiscal year 25. So the action requested today is approval to program $4.392 million from the Freeway Lifecycle Improvements allocation to the State Route 51 and Loop 101 system interchange ramps. With that, I am happy to take any questions that you may have on this presentation.
Thank you, Quinn. Any questions or comments?
Just a
Mayor Orsborn.
Sure. Thank you. We talked about this in Transportation Committee also, and just want to say thank you for the very clever ways to fix some of those pinch points that we have on freeways. And we're working really well with ADOT. We talked at TPC about some other areas that we think might be candidates for just some very minor lane changes, basically striping, which is essentially what this is, spending very little money and making a massive impact for the traveling public. Very similar to what's happened in Avondale-Tolleson with the 101 to 10 connection there over the past several years. So wholeheartedly in favor of this, and thank you, MAG and ADOT for coming up with very efficient ways to take care of some of these issues.
Thank you, Mayor Orsborn. Mayor Weiss.
Mayor Orsborn, I think part of the conversation, from what I remember, was also it was Member Stipp who had brought this up on some other areas, and I agree. I think there's ways we can mitigate congestion in a pretty quick fashion. The problem is that when we start planning for them, that planning sometimes takes a couple years and that congestion gets worse. And I think what Bill was talking about too was the 202 transition off ramps and on ramps off of I-10 and looking at those at some point in the future. But I agree. I think this has made a huge difference. I'm on this in this area probably 3 times a week and at about 7:30 in the morning, and it's a big deal, the changes that have happened. So thank you for that.
Mayor, if I might just add, as a sort of follow up to this, after TPC, I talked, John Bullen, Chief Transportation Officer, and I talked about identifying whether we have the ability to add more funds to this sort of small project pot. Right now, we have $5 million a year. We have to go and look and see as we're wrapping up 400, whether that's an option. But I think it does show an interesting way to maybe attack some short-term pain for the public to see results. It's hard to think that calling $5 million is a little bit of money, but in the case of a freeway system, it's dust, but important in some applied situations. So we're going to look for more opportunities and come back through a TPC and the regional council if we can find that and talk to you more about that.
Great. Could our staff update on comments, public comments on this item?
Thank you, Madam Chair. We have not received any written public comments on this item.
Wonderful. Is there a motion to approve item 7?
Motion to approve.
I'll second.
We have a motion from Mayor Orsborn and a second from Mayor Weiss. Turn on your cameras, folks online. Can I have a voice vote of those in the room and those online? Those in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay.
Aye.
Staff, please do our roll call.
Thank you, Madam Chair. If I call your name, please indicate how you vote. Ms. Daniels,
Aye.
Thank you. Madam Chair, everyone has voted. The motion passes.
Wonderful. We're restriping some freeway ramps. Regional support for the US 60 Grand Avenue, 35th Avenue, Indian School Federal Road Discretionary Grant Application. This item is on the agenda for approval and will be presented by Patrick Stone, Transportation Funding Program Manager.
Thank you, Chair Gallego, members of Regional Council. Pleasure to be here today to present this item to you. So before I get really into the presentation, I kind of want to take a moment to highlight the existing traffic conditions that exist in this location. If you look at the screen, what you'll notice is going across the lower left-hand portion of the screen is a train. And just to orient, we're actually looking northwest at this point. And what you'll notice is that train is currently blocking traffic on 35th Avenue, both north and southbound. You can see the queues forming there. And then I also wanted to call your attention to a highlight here. If you look at eastbound Grand Avenue at this point, there's over a 1 mile backup on this section of road because of that interaction with the train.
And I would just add, I think it's really important, while this is a local, somewhat of a local intersection in West Phoenix, it actually, everything that's been done on Grand Avenue has been amazing, but it all comes to a screeching halt here. So resolving this intersection, I think, is going to have a significant impact on the operations of Grand all the way up to Surprise and beyond, because it ripples backwards and forwards from this. So that's why we wanted to bring this to your attention.
Thank you, Ed. So moving on, looking at the crash history, kind of similar to what Quinn showed in the previous one, this is a heat map showing the crashes in this project area. Specifically, this covers the time period of 2014 to 2019. What you'll notice, and it's not a surprise, significant number of crashes at the intersection of 35th Avenue and Grand Avenue. Indian School at this location actually flies over that area. But what you'll notice is to the east and west of that flyover, you also see a significant amount of crashes in this area. Excuse me. To kind of further emphasize the crash implications, talking about railroad safety, back in 2016, FRA released a report on the top intersections for incidents with trains. Unfortunately, this location ranked number 2 in the country with 21 incidents. So how do we address those factors that we've covered with there's proposed improvements? First of all, this project is actually currently in the Freeway Lifecycle Program, so it is programmed to be improved and constructed. So I want to go over the specific improvements, kind of walk through a schematic of the roadway and go the improvements. First is to raise 35th Avenue to create an elevated intersection with Indian School. So this would be above the existing roadway. There's also improvements planned to the arterial network in this area, first at the Glen Rosa and 37th Avenue. Then also at Indian School and 33rd, moving further south to Clarendon. And what you have also is the closure of 2 at-grade railroad crossings. So those crossings would be eliminated. In addition, there's non-motorized improvements, bus transit improvements, and also the accommodation for planned future high-capacity transit, both on 35th Avenue and Indian School Road. Project timeline, we're currently sitting April 2024. We anticipate the environmental clearance any day now, which is a critical component of the project in moving it forward. And then I really want to, the whole point of this conversation today is talk about discretionary grants and how they impact the region, and specifically to this project. If you think about how grants work in the region, first we'll start with how we typically fund projects. We have the Highway User Revenue Fund, or HURF. We have the half-cent sales tax, RARF, or the Regional Area Road Fund. In addition, we have the Federal Highway Administration formula funding that's allocated to the region. As you see, those are the typical components of a project in the region. So what happens if you add discretionary grant funds? Well, what you see is adding those funds into the mix reduces the need of those regional funds, and that offset allows those funds to then be repurposed to other projects in the region. So specifically, there are 3 grant opportunities I wanted to talk about. First is the Multimodal Project Discretionary Grant, or the MEGA grant. 5.1 billion available. The funding, or the application, excuse me, closes on May 6th. In addition, we have the Consolidated Rail Infrastructure and Safety, or CRISI. That ONOFO is out right now, the NOSA funding opportunity. Applications close May 28th.
Chip speaking, may I help you?
And then finally, there's a railroad crossing elimination that we hope that we anticipate will be on the street next month. and we'll also be putting in for that project. And so I wanted to also acknowledge project partners, ADOT, BNSF, the city of Phoenix, and MAG. Without their help, this wouldn't be doable. And I also want to take a moment to acknowledge the work of two MAG staff, specifically Steph Stearns and Quinn Castro. While I get the honor of presenting this, it was their hard work that actually helped make this presentation as good as it is. So I wanted to acknowledge their work. And with that, Madam Chair, that concludes my presentation. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Wonderful. Thank you. And Diane provided a comment earlier when she mentioned she was in favor of the work Patrick Stone was doing. That was this project, right? Do you need to comment again?
Instead of come on down, come on up, right? Things are coming up. Thank you. He had several projects on the freeway program, and I'm looking at it in a holistic manner. And this is an important part, just as Ed conveyed. You know, we have crashes and we've got multimodal around there, you know, the trains. My dream is that someday we would have a maglev and it would go above this.
Thank you. And then Steph, we had one public comment on this one. Is that right? A written?
Thank you, Madam Chair. We had 3 written comments on item number 8.
All right.
Chair?
Please, Mayor Ortega.
Thank you. I just have one comment that, nationally speaking, when there are derailments in a city and how that's come to the attention of essentially closing off parts of our transportation system, I think this is definitely something we'll support. It's not in Scottsdale, but honestly, there have been other tragedies, and this will definitely take care of a bottleneck. However long it takes to occur, but to get the funding and so forth. I really like the idea of moving this forward. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you, Mayor Ortega. Any additional comments?
With that, I would move for approval. Second.
We have a motion from Mayor Ortega and a second from Mayor Hartke. So if you are online, if you could turn on your camera, leave it on until after the roll call. Can I have a voice vote of those in the room and those online? Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. Members, please leave your cameras on. Staff, can you take a roll call of the members participating virtually who did not turn on their camera?
Thank you, Madam Chair. When I call your name, please indicate how you vote. Jen Daniels.
Aye.
Thank you. Madam Chair, everyone has voted and the motion passes.
Thank you all. 9 is Diamond Grind Pilot Program and the expansion update. It is on the agenda for information and discussion and will be presented by Arminta Saeed, Transportation Planner. Welcome.
Oh, there we go. I'll start again. Thank you, Madam Chair, members of Regional Council. This is just a quick verbal update on what you can find in your agenda packet for this item. So in November of last year, this committee approved the action to expand the Diamond Grind pilot program. During that time, there were some ongoing efforts looking into different impacts of Diamond Grind. And so as part of that expansion, we wanted to provide quarterly updates. And so this is the first of those updates. In your agenda packet, you can find further details on all of these ongoing efforts. But to quickly summarize, there are 2 studies that are currently active. This is the Urban Heat Island Assessment, which is being conducted in partnership with the ADOT Research Center. There's also the MAG Freeway Noise Analysis Study, Phase 2. Those are both in early stages. So in your agenda packets, you can just find, excuse me, some further detail on what you can expect from these studies moving forward. There are also efforts underway to work with the ADOT Central District to develop an ongoing monitoring program that looks at the ride quality performance of these Diamond Grind freeway sections. So we expect that as part of the next update, you'll get the first real assessment of that.
There's also, in our effort to ensure consistency across these diamond ground pavements, we're also working on the effort to regrind Loop 101 Price. That effort was kicked off earlier this month. Currently, construction is underway. And then finally, you'll find one last fact sheet. It provides some pretty stark pictures of the failing conditions of rubberized asphalt on Loop 202 Santan. That's pretty representative of the challenges we're facing with rubberized asphalt. And so to that end, we're working with ADOT to kick off shortly a freeway pavement rehabilitation study that will help us sort of prioritize what needs the sequencing of the sections of the freeway that need to occur. With that, that concludes my update. I am happy to answer any questions.
Mayor Hartke.
Yeah, and Mr. Zerker, this was before your time and maybe before yours as well. But a couple years ago, when we first started doing the diamond grind on this section, particularly in Chandler and Tempe, I know I'm trying to rack my brain to remember, but there was some vote on diamond grind back then and a pilot study, and can you refresh us, what was that about again back then? I honestly don't recall if you were here at that time or not, but if you were, would you?
Absolutely. Madam Chair, members of Regional Council, I was around, but it was actually my boss, John Bullen, giving this update at the time. So that was to kick off the pilot program to look at if diamond grind could be a feasible alternative to rubberized asphalt. At that time, committee voted specifically on 3 projects on the freeway system, or that were part of the freeway program to test out this diamond grind surface. Those 3 pilots were Loop 101 Price 202 to Baseline Road, Loop 101 Pima I-17 to Pima Road, and then those 2 are now completed, and we've still got the 3rd slated on 101 Agua Fria from 75th Avenue to I-17. And those were the only sections that were approved for diamond grind at the time. And then in November of last year, we brought forth that motion to expand that to the rest of our freeway program projects.
Okay. And I remember there was a fair amount of discussion just of, again, the limitations within ADOT financially and diamond grind versus asphalt overlay. But so this is an extension of that, is what you were saying back then?
Madam Chair, members of Regional Council, that's correct. And as that initial pilot was going on for the few years, we agreed to evaluate 3 different criteria. It was life cycle costs, public acceptance, and ride quality. So throughout that time, we came back and provided periodic updates on how diamond grind performed in relation to rubberized asphalt under those 3 criteria. And then based off of those findings that were presented at the end of last year, that's provided the basis for the expansion.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much for the great update. Item 10 is update on transition to the state contract service for 911. This is on the agenda for information and discussion and will be presented by Nathan Pryor, Special Projects Administrator.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I'll also be joined by Audrey Skidmore, MAG Information Technology Director. Before we go into the report, however, I just want to take a note. Last week at the MAG Executive Committee on Monday, April 15th, the committee did take action to recognize last week as Public Safety Telecommunicators Week. We'd like to recognize the ongoing work of our public safety telecommunicators who answer the call every hour of every day to administer aid to those in distress or need. For 38 years, the staff at our regional public safety answering points, our PSAPs, have been providing excellent service to the millions of calls received each year. In fact, in 2023, in the Maricopa region, there were an estimated 3.5 million calls answered by more than 1,000 public safety telecommunicators, at 26 911 call centers. The recognition was made public on MAG social media. We appreciate the MAG Executive Committee taking time to recognize the dedication of our regional public safety answering point personnel. I'll pause for any remarks or questions at this time before we go into the report. Great, thank you. As I mentioned, since the mid 1980s, MAG has been working on 911, the administration thereof in the region, including a contractual agreement with the city of Phoenix. Maricopa Region 911 has been providing service and support to the region's public safety answering points, the PSAPs, for 911 services. Fast forward to January 31st of this year, you might recall the MAG Regional Council took action approving for the Maricopa Region 911 PSAPs to migrate to state contract service for 911. This was done at the recommendation of the MAG 911 Study Committee. The action taken by Regional Council was a milestone, demarcating the beginning of a period of transition for Maricopa Region PSAPs, Maricopa Region 911, as well as ADOA and MAG. Since January, MAG has been working to provide coordinated updates from Arizona Department of Administration 911 to the MAG 911 committees. We plan to continue providing updates to the 911 committees, the MAG Management Committee, and the MAG Regional Council through the migration period to state contract service. What you see up here was provided by ADOA 911 office. This is the project timeline for migration to state contract service for 911, which has been ongoing. You can see the green line is where we're at today. So far, Scottsdale, Wickenburg, Gilbert, Paradise Valley, Glendale, Peoria, including Goodyear and Surprise scheduled for this month, migrating to state contract service. The next phase, we're seeing Buckeye, Avondale, Tolleson, Luke Air Force Base, and Apache Junction migrating to state contract service. So by July 1, 14 of 26 PSAPs will have migrated. That's the projected schedule from ADOA. Ultimately, the project completion is provided by ADOA is supposed to conclude in December of this year. Other issues that ADOA 911 has been reporting back to us on, including next generation core services. This was a big discussion point in conversations between our co-chairs of our 911 Study Committee, as well as City of Phoenix and ADOA last year. So far, pleased to report all Maricopa Region PSAPs have migrated to next generation core services. This has improved features for call takers and improved interoperability. So that's a big win for our region. This also allows for smoother transition to state contract service. As I mentioned, this was a significant conversation point, so we'd like to thank ADOA for moving forward with this. On our service level agreements, these are components of the contract with the vendor. ADOA continues to refine and negotiate these points related to response times for when issues may arise. We're seeing that critical system issues, ADOA has negotiated this from 2 hours to less than 1 hour. They've also added a mean time to repair critical issues to less than 4 hours. So that was a new addition. So these are marked improvements. And again, thanking ADOA for their work on that. Next, I'm going to turn over to Audrey Skidmore to talk about policy routing review, as well as the host review and discussion on that.
Thank you, Chair, members of the committee. Specifically, policy routing is how calls are routed to other agencies when your agency is unable to take those calls and the situations under which that would occur. There are more options available under NextGen. And so it's really important for the agencies to communicate with each other because the calls could move a little more quickly than they're used to. The agencies have been working with each other and with the ADOA to set those timings and appropriate coordination. Now, I want to speak briefly about hosts. So agencies that are on the same host have the option to do what's called hot seating. So if their site became unavailable, they could go to one of their other sites. But there's a benefit to that, but there's also a risk. And so you can kind of see that there's going to be an East Valley, a West Valley, and then there's going to be 2 for Phoenix. And we've just been asking agencies to think about this as they're moving forward. It's in your best interest to have as a final destination, maybe not your first destination, somebody on another host, so if there were ever a problem with the host, your calls would still have somewhere to end up. And so we're just saying it's a good idea to make a partnership with an agency that's on the geographically diverse and on a separate host, so that if the entire host went down, your calls would still have a position to land in. So we're just highlighting that. We've been working with the ADOA to highlight that to our agencies, and it's one of the issues we need to pay attention to as we're moving forward. Anything you want to?
And just the final update, ADOA has opened up their request for grant applications for FY 2025. ADOA has been working with the respective public safety answering points on that grant application process. So we appreciate them working with the member agency PSAPs. I think bottom line in all this, really appreciate the work of member agencies, your 911 call centers and personnel, as well as ADOA, Maricopa Region 911 staff in the coordinated transition. It's been very orderly to date. We'll continue to provide updates, as I mentioned, during the transition through the rest of the calendar year and beyond if necessary, if there are any issues that come up that might delay the migration. With that, Madam Chair, we're available for any questions.
Thank you. Any questions? Wonderful. Appreciate the update. Item 11 is on the agenda for information and discussion, air quality update. It will be presented by Matt Poppin, our new environmental director.
Thank you, Madam Chair and members of the Regional Council. Today, I just want to provide an update on our continuing efforts to address the ozone non-attainment challenges in our region, and also the planning efforts that are beginning to address the new EPA PM 2.5 standards, which we've talked about, the new fine particulate standard. So our ozone season begins in April here in the MAG region, goes through September, and we've already had a couple exceedances of that ozone standard this year. Our first exceedance was last Wednesday. That occurred actually at the Tonto Monitor, which is the one out in the Tonto National Forest on the border with Gila County and Maricopa County. Kind of interestingly, that same day, there was also exceedances in Tucson. So you can really see how ozone is very unpredictable and how it moves throughout the valley. And then we had some additional exceedances last Friday as well within Maricopa County. In terms of how high those are, the highest one was 74 at the Falcon Field Airport Monitor, which is 4 parts above the federal standard of 70. So we're already in the midst of exceedances for 2024. We spoke with you last month about the meeting MAG and Maricopa County had with EPA Assistant Administrator Joe Goffman. And we wanted to make the council aware that we have sent a follow-up letter to EPA on April 1st, urging EPA to take action on the requests we made to Mr. Goffman regarding our ozone challenges. We also want to make the council aware that we received a copy of a letter sent to President Biden yesterday from the governors of Arizona, Colorado, Utah, and Wyoming that highlighted many of the same issues that we have discussed here. So in that letter, requests for action and relief on issues such as wildfires, exceptional events, and international transport were all raised in that governor's letter. So I think what we're seeing since MAG and had our initial discussion of the ozone challenges with Mr. Goffman back in September, we are continuing to see real momentum on this issues from other states, MPOs, regional air quality agencies of the challenges that exist in the Intermountain West. So we're really seeing everybody coming to the table requesting assistance from EPA and the executive branch for help with the ozone challenges that the region faces. And so while we push for relief from those ozone challenges, we do continue with our own planning efforts locally to address the requirements that we have. So Maricopa County and the state of Arizona continue to evaluate reasonable ozone control measures that can be implemented locally. Maricopa County is already moving forward with a couple measures that they are taking steps to implement. So while we're really addressing these serious challenges, we're also doing our best to address the things that we can do here locally as well. We continue to also work on the documentation that we need to get up to EPA to turn off the sanctions clock that were triggered with the finding of failure to submit a moderate plan. So we're working diligently to get that information up to EPA, hopefully by the end of this year. And then regarding PM 2.5, just really briefly, wanted to let you know we'll have a presentation tomorrow at our Air Quality Technical Advisory Committee from ADEQ, where they will explain the process that they are going to undertake to determine which geographic areas of the state are in attainment or in non-attainment. So that's going to be helpful as we move forward with that. MAG is also going to be in the process of working with our on-call air quality consultants to perform an analysis of available PM 2.5 speciation data. That will help us get a better idea of the particular sources that contribute to the PM 2.5 problem in Maricopa County and Pinal County. And then lastly, Maricopa County and Pinal County are going to put out some additional monitors as well to help understand what sources are contributing to the PM 2.5 problem. So that concludes my update. If there are any questions, I'm available. Thank you.
Questions or comments? Thank you for that important update. Nominating committee. Annually, the chair of the MAG Regional Council appoints a 5-member nominating committee from the Regional Council. In accordance with our approved MAG committee operating policies and procedures, the nominating committee develops a balanced slate of officers for members of the MAG Regional Council Committee to serve for the upcoming year. These candidates include a chair, vice chair, treasurer, past chair, and 3 members at large. The members of the 2024 nominating committee are as follows: serving as chair, Mayor Weiss of Avondale, Mayor Skip Hall of Surprise, Mayor Schoaf of Litchfield Park, Mayor Wheatley of Queen Creek, Mayor Woods of City of Tempe. Would like to thank these members for agreeing to serve on the nominating committee. A memo will be sent out tomorrow soliciting interest to serve as members of the executive committee. The nominating committee will provide a report at the May 22 Regional Council meeting and announce the slate of officers for consideration. The elections of officers will occur at the June 26, 2024 annual meeting of the MAG Regional Council. Thank you. Mayor Weiss, would you like to say anything?
No,
Might
I
need to.
think it's a great nominating committee. Obviously, it reflects the diversity of the Valley of West, Central, and East, and there are people on there that have had experience on the nominating committee. So I'm excited about who puts their names in, and then lets the regional council decide in June.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. We will now turn to the executive director's report. Ed Zerker.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Very briefly today, a few things that have impacted members of the Regional Council. First, the Women's Transportation Seminar Phoenix chapter had its annual event. Many of you were attended, and this is a picture of some who were there. But folks connected to MAG who received awards included Dana Paschke, who was one of our lobbyists last few years for the successful lobbying effort for Prop 400 extension through the state legislature. Maricopa County Supervisor and Chairman Jack Sellers received the Honorable Ray LaHood Award for Excellence in the region, and Tempe Mayor Corey Woods received a Diversity Leadership Award from the group. WTS has been in existence for almost 50 years, and I'm proud to say that there are a significant number of MAG staff who are part of leadership in WTS, including Quinn Castro, who just presented to you earlier, is the current president of the chapter, which is also, I think, the largest single chapter in the United States. So we have a really strong presence in the region of women and people who support them in the non-traditional field of engineering and planning in transportation. So it's really good to see. And thank you all who attended that with us. The Arizona Transit Association Conference was a couple weeks ago in Mesa. Mayor Giles spoke, as did Director Toth of ADOT, and spoke about Prop 479, the planning process, and what's going on there. Also, I think Chief of Staff Audra Kester Thomas presented a significant amount at that as well. So efforts about 479 education continue. Switching gears to heat, we hit 100, as you know. Next slide. It's Extreme Heat Policy and Innovation Summit took place in Washington, D.C. a couple of weeks ago as well. I'm very pleased that our Deputy Director, Amy St. Peter, was invited to Washington to present along with David Hondula, who is in the lower left there. He is Phoenix's Chief Heat Director of the Office of Heat Response and Mitigation. I should know that.
The event was hosted by ASU, Knowledge Exchange for Resilience, and the Federation of American Scientists. And our Heat Relief Network, which you all talked about last month, was featured. And so there's a lot of national energy now around the issue of heat and what needs to be done. And this region is seen as a leader in that, of course. So that's good news. I apologize for being late today, but I was on a panel for Intelligent Transportation System, ITS America, which has its national international conference here in downtown Phoenix this week. So it's a group of industry leaders in the area of intelligent transportation, emerging technologies. Mayor Gallego gave the welcoming remarks earlier. And so many of our staff are participating there. So again, with 479, there's a significant amount of funds that have been allocated to the area of intelligent transportation, safety, digital infrastructure, even things we don't think about like arterial intersection improvements are going to be intelligent transportation oriented, because the use of cameras and fiber optics and all those things are helping with safety and capacity there. So with that, Mayor, that's my Executive Director report today. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you for that report and representing us. We are really a leader on intelligent transportation, and the funding in 479 would cement that even further.
What?
Was that an intentional comment from? Okay, it did not seem like. The legislature has been making news today, although not particularly in our area of focus. We have item 14, the legislative update, and we'll welcome Audra.
Thank you, Chairwoman Gallego, members of Regional Council. New revenue estimates were released last Thursday that refined the 2-year deficit down slightly to approximately $1.8 billion. As we reported at the Transportation Policy Committee last week, both the governor's budget released at the beginning of the year, as well as comments made by both appropriations chairs, indicate that some of the one-time spending that was appropriated over the last few years may be candidates to help strategize in closing the budget gap. Several of these one-time appropriations, as all of you are acutely aware, include transportation projects within the region. And those include, just a short list to highlight, I-10 Wild Horse Pass corridor widening of approximately $500 million appropriated in the last 2 years, I-10 West widening from SR 85 to Citrus over the last 2 years, over $100 million appropriated, SR 347 widening and intersection improvements at Riggs Road south of the valley heading into the city of Maricopa, totaling approximately $48 million appropriated over the last 2 years, and SR 24 extension into Pinell County with over $80 million appropriated last year, just to cite a few. We will continue to track these appropriations as well as the overall budget negotiations in the upcoming weeks. As Chairwoman Gallego just mentioned, the legislature has taken to convening on Wednesdays, and today has been an active day already. In addition to other matters, Senate Bill 1064, a bill that expands the number of fuel blends available, is scheduled again for House Committee of the Whole. This bill includes conditional enactment that EPA must approve as part of the state implementation plan. As noted last month, we anticipate the continuation of ADOT as well as several of the other agencies to become part of the budget negotiations. We'll continue to monitor these developments as conversations continue. Chairwoman Gallego, members of Regional Council, that completes my presentation.
Mayor,
Please go ahead.
what you mentioned were all one-time issues. I'm just wondering if the state has an operational revenue issue out of that 1.8 billion. Are they addressing any revenue and operating expenses to balance? Because if they got an operating issue and they got an operating revenue issue, they're just putting a Band-Aid over the dike if they're just tacking the one-time stuff.
Chairwoman Gallego, members of Regional Council, Mayor Pizzillo, and to that end, actually, the governor has requested that all of her department directors take a look at their upcoming budgets to prepare for the potential deficit or the proposed deficit or projected deficit as indicated. That went out earlier this week, and it includes a potential freezing of all vacant positions and hiring freeze associated with it. So those conversations will continue.
Thank you.
Spoken like someone with some real budget expertise. Anyone?
I think we'd all agree that while we thought last year it couldn't have gotten worse, had we not gotten the bill through last year and we were doing this year, it would have been worse. So we're fortunate that the effort you all put in last year succeeded, because it's just not a place we would have wanted to have been this year.
All right. Well, thank you for that important, if sobering, update. Requests for future agenda items.
Madam Chair.
Mayor Weiss.
Something I would ask is that sometime in the next few months, there's an organization in the state that is funded by the state, by the tobacco tax, First Things First, that has an impact on almost all of our communities in one way or another. I think it's important for them to come out. Melinda, who's the CEO of First Things First, for her to come out and kind of address us all at one time and get an idea of what they do for our communities. And just let us know how they're impacted by the budget, because their funds come out of the budget also. So, and if we could do that sometime in the next 90 days, that would be great.
Wonderful. That sounds like a great suggestion. Thank you. All right. Seeing no additional future requests for agenda items, I will go to 16, comments from the committee. Would like to congratulate several colleagues who have delivered their State of the City, and thank you to Mayor Hartke, who really talked about 479. Much, much appreciated. Also, congratulations to Mayor Weiss on an upcoming graduation. Any additional comments from the committee?
Mayor?
Mayor Hartke.
Also, had the opportunity to attend City of Phoenix and City of Gilbert State of the City, and I'm always inspired to hear all of the points of pride when I attend my neighboring and fellow mayor's State of the City, and this was no different. And also, thank you, Mayor Gallego, for your attention to Prop 479.
Mayor Weiss.
We had our State of the City last week, 2 weeks ago. Thanks, Ed. And one of the things that came out of one of the highlights was that Avondale over the last year was able to provide temporary or permanent housing for 61 homeless individuals in the city. That is a direct result of the efforts by Pathways Home, by Amy, for your work and your team's work on this. Bringing together resources on a valley-wide basis really does have an impact. And I thought the committee should know that it's having an impact in the West Valley. So thank you for everything that you've done.
Thank you. And thank you to MAG on my State of the City that provided really important housing data so that I could have the most accurate numbers. Mayor, not Mayor as
Not a mayor. I should have said this in my other comments. So if you give me a moment, today is Administrative Professionals Day. We're celebrating it here at MAG. So I just want to take a minute to say thank you to those folks here. We're celebrating it today. I'm not sure when the actual day is. Sorry. No. I think we decided today's our day. Just want to recognize here in the room with us, we have Ariel and Andrea, who you often work with. Thank you. You many times pass by our staff out front, which includes Terry and Kara, who are always there to greet you. Also, we want to recognize Kathleen, Angie, Mimi, and Lisa, who provide support throughout the agency. I don't think they're able to be in here with us because they're busy making sure that this place is running as administrative professionals do. So thank you for your recognition of all of them, and for the minute to say thank you to them.
Thank you, Ed. We in Phoenix are also recognizing today as Wear Denim Day for a sort of sobering reason. Yep, that is why. I wouldn't normally wear jeans, and we did the passing of the gavel photo with Mayor Hartke, but I'm hopeful it'll be a waist up photo. This is something the city has done it predates my time, but unfortunately 25 years ago today, the Italian Supreme Court overturned a rape conviction based on the fact that the victim was wearing jeans. And so in solidarity with victims, we are wearing jeans today. Yeah, that is not acceptable. And so we hope to send that message. Someone give us some good news, though. I don't want to end on that.
We talk about the Suns, but we're not going to.
The Suns are going to come back. That'll be the good news.
Okay.
All right, we will not go into sports. Mhm.
Oh, did they? You want to say it on your mic, John?
Well, I think we all it's good to see progress at the Arizona legislature whenever that occurs. Many of us are grateful that the House apparently set aside the 1860s abortion ban. So that still has a ways to go, obviously, through the Senate and the governor's office, but good to see progress at the legislature.
Thank you. With that, our next meeting will be on Wednesday, May 22nd, 2024 at 11:30 a.m. With no further business, today's meeting